We spent so much time and a lot of money trying to figure out what we needed over here. It ended up that we needed a free zone setup company. This guy, he was good. He had a ton of followers on YouTube. He had great recommendations. And then we got to the part that he told us about his pricing. And I mean, it was extortionate. So once we did that, we got our EVs in the UK. We came over here, did our biometrics. It was all such a lovely service, to be honest. I mean, they took us to these government buildings. We were in the VIP queue. Your Emirates ID is this card, and it literally is your passport into everywhere in the country. If you're going into a hospital, you're going to need it. If you want medical insurance, if you're doing anything, driving lessons, you need your Emirates ID. In this video, I'm going to cover the 7 things that I wish that I knew before I moved to Dubai. So let's get into it. The first thing that I wish I knew before I moved to Dubai is what sort of business setup we needed. We spent so much time and a lot of money trying to figure out what we needed over here. It ended up that we needed a free zone setup company, not as opposed to a mainland one. So a mainland one, what's the difference? The mainland one is where you're actually doing business within the UAE, and a free zone one is where you're not doing business within the UAE, is outside the UAE, which is what we're doing, and that you're not actually exchanging any money within the UAE. So that's why we set up a free zone. So we looked at a lot of different companies on how to do this. And I think my husband was researching this for ages. It took him a good 6 to 9 months to figure out who to go with. He wasn't sure. I think we finally settled on someone who was on YouTube. And this guy, he was good. He had a ton of followers on YouTube. He had great recommendations. And then we got to the part that he told us about his pricing. And I mean, it was extortionate. When I'm talking about extortionate, I'm talking about like, wow, it was a deposit for a small flat. Anyway, I wasn't having any of it. So I did my own research, and after speaking to people and going into Facebook groups and communities, and I mean, there's amazing Facebook groups. I think there's one called Expats in Dubai. It's amazing. You can ask a question about anything, and there's a ton of people there to help you out. So if you're thinking of moving to Dubai, then do utilize such resource. Anyway, so then we found our own way of setting up the free zone company. It was about 1/3 of the price, and we dealt directly with the company that was setting it up. It was a very reputable company. We did all our research, we asked for recommendations, and that's how we finally got our business setup done. So that's the first thing that I wish that I knew before I came to Dubai. The second thing that I wish I knew is more about visas, residency, and my kids' visas. Now, wait till the end of this bit, because this is such a massive thing that you need to take into consideration if you're thinking of bringing your younger kids here. So in order for us to get our visas, you have to have the free zone set up, and then the visa was all part and package of that. So we did all this while we were in the UK. And what they then provide you with is something called an e-visa. So once we got our e-visa, we decided that it was about a week or so before we were coming out. We were coming over. So then what we needed to do is come out here, and then you need to do this part of the process that's called the biometrics, where you get your fingerprint done and other such things, where you need to get your Emirates ID. And your Emirates ID is a reflection that you have residency in the country. So once we did that, we got our EVs in the UK, we came over here, did our biometrics. It was all such a lovely service, to be honest. I mean, they took us to these government buildings. We were in the VIP queue. Like, there was no queues. It was a lovely, lovely experience, I have to say. So we did all that, and then we got our actual physical visas, which was awesome. And then thereafter, we got our residency, so our Emirates ID. So your Emirates ID is this card, and it literally is your passport into everywhere in the country. If you're going into a hospital, you're going to need it. If you want medical insurance, if you're doing anything, driving lessons, you need your Emirates ID. So obviously that's so important. So the one thing that I want to make you aware of that I totally wasn't aware of when we came here was about getting my son's visa. So my son is 7-year-old. I have our older one who's a much older teenager, but the younger one, we didn't get his visa because he came in on a tourist visa, and that lasted for about 30 days. So once that was over, we were like, right, it's time for him to get his actual visa now. And then when it came to that part of the process, they were like, okay, so we need his birth certificate. We're like, great, we got that. And they were like, is it attested? and I didn't even know what attested meant at that time. I'm sure you all know. Attested means that is it attested by a solicitor to confirm that this is that person, etc., etc. And I was like, oh my goodness, we don't have this attested. And the time was running out for his tourist visa. It was such a panic, such a pressurized situation because we weren't expecting it. So then what we had to do, we had to get in contact with a special company who couriered it to the UK, sent it to the solicitor, then they sent it to the UAE embassy in the UK, and then they got it back over to us. And this happened in the space of a week. Now, it wasn't cheap, I think it cost about £200. But at the end of the day, I wish somebody has told me that before I'd come over to the UAE. It would have made the whole process a lot more seamless. So if you're thinking of bringing your children over, then be sure to get their birth certificates attested. It's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of stress. Right, what's the third thing that I wish I knew about when I came to Dubai? The third thing that I wish I knew about was accommodation. Look, when we got here, my husband made an amazing decision. I think it was one of the best decisions he made. He booked us into an Airbnb. Look, the last thing that you want to do when you go to a foreign country is to think that that place that you first go to is going to be the place that you settle in. It takes time for you to understand exactly where you are. You've just made this massive transition, moving your whole family from one country to another. You're reeling emotionally. It's overwhelming. You've literally left your whole family behind and you're in a whole new place. The last thing that you're really thinking about on an emotional level is this the place that I'm going to settle? So the best thing that you could possibly do is find somewhere temporary, in my opinion, for the first month or two. We only did it for 3 weeks. We were in an Airbnb and we did it for 3 weeks. I personally think that was too short of a period. We probably should have done it for 2 months. Why 2 months? It would have given us a much better understanding of exactly where we wanted to go and stay. Look, there's different areas in every country. In the UK, you've got Mayfair, you've got West London, East London, North London, Scotland, England, Wales. Dubai is the same. It's no different. I know on TV it's glamorized and there's a lot of materialism and everything looks so stunning and beautiful. But like every country in the world, it has areas for the middle class, for the lower classes, and for the upper classes. So it's a great idea to settle somewhere for a couple of months and maybe go around with the family, understand which areas you like, whether they have the amenities that you like, whether they have the transport amenities. Where is your child's school going to be? You don't know that initially when you get here. So what's the point in making the decision to book a place or rent a place for a year when your child's school might be on the other side of Dubai? Now, Dubai isn't actually that big. It's only about 50 minutes, believe it or not, to get from end to end. So like the UK, I think it's about 7 hours, right? To get from end to end. Dubai is actually very small. So it's not that far to get from end to end. So one thing I would definitely recommend in terms of accommodation is take your time. Rent somewhere for a little short period of time to ensure you're making the best decision of where you're going to rent on a longer term. Now, places to live in Dubai. Oh my goodness. Where do I start? You can have the Emirates Hills, the Dubai Hills, then there's other places like JBR and the Marina. But if you think about it, these are all the commercial places in Dubai. And these are the very upper class places. Now, when we first came here, we didn't know any better. And we settled in Dubai Hills. And we were stuck there for a year because we decided to rent there. Now, it was beautiful, don't get me wrong, it had all the greenery that I wanted. However, the prices weren't within my budget. I was in a 2-bedroom flat. It was quite cramped, but I was paying the same amount I would for a 4-bedroom house in the UK, in West London. So for that reason, I feel we made a really bad decision financially. Anyway, you live and learn, like they say. So after a year, what we did is we looked around at various different places. So in London, you've got Chelsea, you've got Mayfair, you've got West London, you've got Ealing, you've got Eastcote and Pinner, you've got South London. You get the point. In Dubai, you have the same. So we've settled in an area that's much more family orientated, and it's much more in price with what we were actually paying in the UK. So when people come to Dubai and they say the rents are extortionate and the cost of living is through the roof, it just depends on where you want to live. If you want to live by the beach, then of course it's going to be extortionate. You've got the beach on your doorstep. You've literally got one of the best cities in the world 5 minutes away from where you live. Why would it not be extortionate? If you want to get savvy about your money, you can contact an estate agent and they can give you so many different options of different places you can live. So that's the third thing that I wish I knew before I come to Dubai. The fourth thing that I wish I knew before I come to Dubai was about the transport. Now, the transport system here is great. Don't get me wrong, it's got the train system, it's got the metro, it's got the buses, it has all of that. In comparison to the UK though, and I believe the UK has one of the best transport systems in the world, the underground is amazing, the buses, it's all great. Here it's slightly different, it's still developing, so I haven't personally used the transport system, but what we did do as a family when we first came here, because everything is quite far apart in terms of, communities are built and then there's a big space and then there's another community. We were getting a lot of Ubers and oh my gosh, was it costing us. So we did that for the first 3 months and then somebody told me something which I wish they told me as soon as I got here. It was about this service and it's called Kareem. And Uber's like the high end of the taxi services and Kareem is like the lower end. So then what we started to do for the next 3 months was use the Kareem service. It was much more affordable, but still not sustainable, right? So then what we decided to do after about 7 months of being here is go and buy a car. Now Dubai is full of cars. There's tons of second-hand cars and even some of the really newer cars are like 15% cheaper than the UK in my opinion after we did the research. So what we did is we went to this massive car showroom. I don't know if you've heard of Car Giant in the UK. I've been there a couple of times. I mean, this car showroom, it was like 4 times the size of Car Giant and the amount of cars, oh my goodness. So we decided to purchase a car. We purchased a Toyota. It's lovely, it does the job. And one thing I'd highly recommend, and you're going to see it when you get here, is the white cars. Every car's white. When you go and park in the mall or the shopping center, you have a struggle to find your car because every car's white. But there's a reason for that. Because it's so hot here, it reflects the sun. So that's the reason why it's white. So I mean, if you're thinking of Dubai, then I'd love to hear your comments on the things that I've discussed so far. So place them in the comments below. Give a like to the video and please subscribe to the channel. I'll be bringing you so much more content on life in Dubai as a family. So that was point 4. Now point 5, coming to the weather. Now, what can we say about the weather in Dubai? I mean, first of all, it's beautiful. Right now, it's September. I'm looking outside. The sky is blue. It was blue this morning. It's been blue every single day I've got here. But it makes me feel so, so good. That vitamin D is amazing for us. It creates the right mood from the offset. So all year long, from September to about May, it's beautiful. It's between 24 and 32 all the time. So now we get to the fun part. The summers in Dubai. I'm sure you've heard about it. The summers in Dubai are something like I've never experienced. The first year that I got here, I think I almost cried. Like I was out waiting for a cab and I was out in the heat for probably about 3 or 4 minutes and there was no shelter, there was no shade, and I literally was about to cry from the heat. It's so hot. You're up to the 45 and the 50s. And I mean, it was originally the desert. So at the end of the day, we need to understand where we are in the world, right? So after being in Dubai for 2 whole summers straight, so I've lived in it. How have I got through the summer? It's pretty easy. You have to stay cocooned within AC conditions. So it's from your house to the car, which is AC, to the mall, AC to the mall, which is AC, and then back from the mall to the car to your house. That's how it works here during the day. During the evening, it might be okay for you to go out. Obviously, when it comes to summer and the kids and getting them exercise and fresh air, then you need to find other activities, indoor activities, and there's tons of them. You've got stuff like Kidzania, equivalent, jungle monkeys, all this sort of stuff, trampolining, all of this good stuff that you can take your kids to. So there's plenty of indoor activities in the summer. However, next year, we're going to be doing something different. We've promised ourselves that we won't be here for the summer. I refuse to spend another summer in temperatures of 45 to 50 degrees. So we're planning to go away somewhere for the summer months. And that's generally what so many people do in Dubai. they travel through the summer. They don't stay here. It's very empty. So that's the fifth thing that I wish I knew about Dubai. The sixth thing I wish I knew more about was medical insurance. So as a family, when we first got here, we were obviously on our travel insurance, but we quickly had to transition to medical insurance. And I don't like to admit it, but for the first couple of months, we didn't have any insurance. We were paying as we went. And I mean, that started to really become an issue. My son kept getting ill. He fractured his ankle at one point. There was quite a lot going on. So that started to mount up. So it really propelled me to get that medical insurance. You know, in the UK, it's free. So you're like, oh my gosh, I now have to pay for this, which is a bit painful. It's a hard bullet to swallow. Anyway, at the end of the day, the family's health is paramount. So we started looking at different insurance. So we did get an insurance that was for the whole family, which was amazing. But the one thing that I wish I knew was this. When you get the insurance, you need to ensure that the person who's the company that's providing you the insurance are in a hospital that's local to you. Because the last thing that you want to do is get health insurance from a provider that doesn't even serve the hospital that's close to you. It serves a hospital that's all the way on the other side of Dubai. Like, what use is that to you when there's an emergency or when you want to go to the hospital with your children or your family? So one thing I'd say, and one thing I wish I knew, is check the provider of the insurance and check the hospitals around your area to make sure that they are covered. And also another thing that I found is make sure that the types of illnesses that you have, that those hospitals have those particular doctors. And I know there's some sort of app that you can get that allows you to check. So for example, if you've got a specific like spine injury and you see a spine specialist, ensure that that hospital that you're aligned to through your medical insurance has those specialist doctors. I hope that makes sense. It's just two things that I wish I knew. Now, what's the seventh and final thing? I could go on and on and on, and I'll be making so many more videos on this, but I'm going to love for you guys to comment below and ask me questions of what you want to know. And the seventh thing that I wish I knew before I moved to Dubai was about the corp tax. Like, how does it even work? Isn't Dubai supposed to be tax-free? This is something you hear all the time. So Dubai has introduced this corp tax policy. So whether you're a company in Dubai, you need to register for corp tax regardless of whether you pay it or not. Now, companies who have our free zone set up, they don't have to pay any tax. Now, I'm not only a financial advisor, so don't take this as gospel. Please do your own research. This is just my opinion, and this is what our accountant has told us. But you don't pay that corp tax. If you're a mainland company, then you do pay that 9% corp tax. If there's any other setup in the way you're doing business, I'm not sure. Get in contact with a tax specialist or an accountant and they'll be able to tell you the intricacies, but you must register for corp tax regardless, otherwise you will be fined. So that is all I wanted to say on that bit. I just wish we knew about that before we got here, but luckily we met an accountant and he has let us know about that and filed for us, which is great. So guys, there you have it, the 7 things that I wish I knew before I moved to Dubai. It's been 15 months now that I've been here, and you know, the first year was very, very turbulent, but now I'm settled, the kids are settled, my husband's settled, we've moved twice now, we're really settled where we are, and I'm absolutely loving it. The decision has been one of the best decisions in terms of quality of life, business and networking, medical care, living accommodation. All those sort of things are really starting to make a difference to my life, my mental health, my emotional health. So if you've got any questions in relation to thinking of moving to Dubai, you're considering it or you're planning it, then put them in the comments below and I'd love to aim to answer them in my next video that I'm going to be making. So for now, take care and I'll see you soon.